Hello, hi, my name is Anita. So I'm making this parasitology videos for BSc MLT students. So let's start with definition and then classification and then we'll go to types of parasites. Let's start. So let's start with parasitology. So let's start the definition of parasite. Before that, what is parasitology? So medical parasitology. Medical parasitology deals with parasites which infect and produce disease in human beings. So let's see what is parasite. A parasite is a living organism which depends on a living host for its survival and derives nutrition from the host without giving any benefit to the host. So a parasite which depends on a living host for its survival. So without the host, it cannot survive. And also it derives nutrition for its survival. And it is not giving any benefit to the host. Instead, it infects and produces disease in human beings. Then go to classification of parasites. All living organisms belong to 5 kingdoms: Monera, Protista, fungi, Plantae and Animalia. Protozoa, which are eukaryotic and unicellular cells. So, protozoa, which are eukaryotic and unicellular cells, belong to kingdom Protista. So, it is given here: Monera, Protista, fungi, Plantae and Animalia. So, all the living organisms belong to these five kingdoms. So, what are they? Monera, Protista, fungi, Plantae and Animalia. So, protozoa, which are eukaryotic and unicellular organisms, belong to kingdom Protista. While helminths, which are eukaryotic and multicellular, protozoa are eukaryotic, unicellular, whereas helminths are eukaryotic, multicellular, and it is belong to kingdom Animalia. So, protozoology and helminthology are 2 branches of parasitology which deals with study of protozoa and helminths respectively. So, medical entomology is another branch which deals with study of arthropods. So, when it is asked, ఒకవేళ classification of protozoa or classification of helminths, when it is asked, then you can start with this. Like all the living organisms, it belongs to 5 kingdoms. Then protozoa, it's a eukaryotic. Then it's a unicellular and it belongs to Protista. Whereas if it is asked about helminth, then you can start with this. Then you can classify the helminths. So yeah, let's go to classification. Like helminths, arthropods also belong to kingdom Animalia. General scheme of classification is as follows. So this is the general scheme of classification. So this is the general scheme of classification. Let's go to the classification of protozoa and helminths. However, a general classification of parasites of medical importance is given in this table. So the medical importance parasites and examination of point of view, these are all the parasites. We'll go to that. So let's see the classification of parasites of medical importance and also in the examination point of view. So protozoa and helminths. So these are the 2 branches of parasitology. So this is the medical importance parasites, protozoa and helminths. So if it is asked like classification of protozoa, classification of helminths, then we can write this table. So yeah, these are all the parasites we are going to study. And yeah, we'll see amoeba, flagellates, sporozoa, ciliates, and one more is there, microsporidia, which is not ciliate, the another one. So in amoeba, we need to study Entamoeba histolytica, flagellates, Giardia lamblia, Trichomonas vaginalis, and Leishmania species. Whereas sporozoa, Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium falciparum, Toxoplasma gondii. Ciliates, Balantidium coli, and Microsporidia. Coming to helminths, which is a multicellular, trematodes, fasciola species, and schistosoma species, cystodes, tinea species, and echinococcus species, nematodes, roundworm, hookworm, and threadworm. So there are many again in this roundworm, hookworm, and threadworm. Also in nematodes, we need to include Trichinella spiralis, Anterobius vermicularis, and Trichura trichuris, and Ocaria bancrafti, Trichuris trichuria, sorry, and Draconcelus medinensis. So all these we need to include in nematodes. Then you can classify all these including. So coming to cystodes, here we need to include Hymenoplepis nana 2, and coming to trematodes, we need to include Paragonimus westermani. So this is the classification. Let's move to types of parasites. So let's start with types of parasites. The first one is ectoparasite. What is ectoparasite? We will see in this. A parasite which lives on the external surface of the host is an ectoparasite. So it lives on the external surface of the host. It's not an endo, it's an ectoparasite, outside. External surface. Example, skin. External surface, it is saying skin. So a parasite which lives on the external surface of the host is an ectoparasite. Sarcoptes scabies, the mite producing scabies, is an example of ectoparasite. A parasite which lives on the external surface of the host is an ectoparasite. It's not inside the body, outside, external surface, on the skin. Sarcoptes scabies, the mite producing scabies, is an example of ectoparasite. So the term infestation is used when the parasitic disease occurs due to ectoparasite. When it is on the skin, external surface, it is called infestation, not infection. It is called infestation. So it is skin to skin. From prolonged, direct skin to skin contact with an infested person, or less commonly by sharing the personal items like bedding, clothes, or towels, as tiny mites burrow under the skin. So yeah, this is how it spreads infection when it is used, all these items, and also skin to skin. So this is called infestation. Ectoparasite causing disease is called infestation. So coming to endoparasite, the second one, a parasite which lives within the body of a host is an endoparasite. So it is inside. Ectoparasite is outside, on the skin. This is inside. It is called endoparasite. So all protozoa and helminthic parasites of human beings are endoparasites. So the term infection is used when the parasitic disease occurs due to endoparasite. Whereas ectoparasite, we are telling infestation. When it is endoparasite, inside the body, it is causing infection, disease, it is called infection. So obligate parasites. Coming to obligate parasites, organisms which cannot exist without their host are known as obligate parasites. So malarial parasite is an example of obligate parasites. So it which cannot exist without their host. Coming to facultative, organisms which under favorable conditions may live a parasitic life. Here we are saying organisms which cannot exist without their host. Here the definitive host is a mosquito. So it present in the mosquito. So it cannot exist without mosquito. So the parasite is malarial parasite. It present in mosquito. So then the intermediate host is obviously human being. So female Anopheles mosquito it survives in. So this is the obligate parasite. So coming to facultative, organisms which under favorable conditions may live a parasitic life. So what it is telling, under favorable conditions only it lives a parasitic life, otherwise it is a free living existence may also occur. Here free living existence also occur with the facultative parasites. These are named as facultative parasites. So example for facultative parasite is Naegleria fowleri is a facultative parasite as it can live independently or freely in soil and water. Whereas obligate parasite, it cannot live independently in soil and water. Without the host, it cannot exist. That is why we are saying obligate parasite. Whereas facultative parasite, it can live independently and under favorable condition only it lives a parasitic life. Yes, this is the difference between obligate and facultative. Coming to accidental parasite. Organisms which infect an unusual host are known as accidental parasites. So we are saying that unusual host. So usual host is dog. It's a definitive host is a dog. So when it is accidentally, it causes infection to humans. So the example is Echinococcus granulosus. It causes a disease. It leads to a disease, hydatid disease. Then coming to aberrant parasites. Organisms which infect a host where it cannot live or develop further. It cannot complete its life cycle. It cannot develop further, it is saying. And it cannot live or further once it causes infection. So these parasites are known as aberrant or wandering parasites, means moving away. And Toxocara canis infecting human being is one such example. So the example for this aberrant parasites is Toxocara canis. So let's see the types of parasites. Once we will revise. Ectoparasite. So it is outside, external surface, on the skin. It causes infection. It is called infestation. It is called infestation. So when it is outside on the external surface, it is not called infection. It is called infestation. An example is Sarcoptes scabies. Coming to endoparasite, it is outside, inside. It is inside the body. All helminths and protozoa are endoparasites. That's the example. Coming to obligate parasite. What is obligate parasite? It cannot exist without their host. Who is its host? Female Anopheles mosquito is the definitive host. Obviously, intermediate host is human being. And coming to facultative parasites. Facultative means under favorable conditions only. It lives a parasitic life. Otherwise, it's a free living in the soil and also in water. And coming to accidental parasite. So here accidental parasite means it causes infection to unusual host. Right? Unusual host we are telling. Who is the usual host? Dog. Right? That's a definitive host. Obviously, intermediate host is again human being. So example for this is Echinococcus granulosus, which leads to hydatid disease. And finally, coming to aberrant parasites. So this is also called wandering parasite. And example for this wandering parasite is, so example for this aberrant or wandering parasite is Toxocara canis. So and in this aberrant parasite, here this cannot develop further. It cannot complete its life cycle. It can only infect. So this is about types of parasites. So with this we will just stop here. Next we will go to the host. What is host? What are the types of host? That we will see in the next. So this is about types of parasites. Also, what is eukaryotic, what is prokaryotic? That's the difference we will see now. So the main difference we need to know here in prokaryotic and eukaryotic is it's a complex, it's a simple cell. Here membrane bound nucleus. The main thing we need to know is it is having a membrane bound nucleus. So this is membrane. Membrane enclosed nucleus contains the cell's DNA. And here this is the nucleus. So that's the difference. Here the nucleus is not true. It is lacking a true nucleus. Whereas here it is enclosed. Enclosed nucleus, membrane enclosed nucleus. It's a true nucleus. And found in animals, plants, fungi and protists. Whereas this is in bacteria, prokaryotic cells. In bacteria you can find this. So we have seen what is parasite and classification of parasites and types of parasites. So classification of parasites can be asked as a long or short answers. So yeah, this is about the definition, classification and types of parasite. Next we will go to, in the next video we will go to the host. What is host? What are the types of host? Bye bye everyone.